Okay, let's unpack this. You know that electric feeling when you first connect with someone? That initial chemistry?
Yeah, that spark. Feels like it could conquer the world, right?
Totally. And it turns out most of us feel it. There was this 2023 study, Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. It found like 72% of couples said chemistry is what first pulled them together.
Wow, 72%. That's huge.
Seems like a solid foundation, you know? But here's the twist. That same research, it showed only 34% of those relationships, the ones starting with intense chemistry, actually last beyond 3 years.
Okay, hold on. So the feeling is real, it draws people in.
Right.
But it's actually, well, not a great predictor of long-term success.
That's fascinating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's really going on? What makes a relationship stick if it's not just that initial buzz?
Well, that's what we need to get into. It points away from just, passively finding the one with perfect chemistry
Right.
and more towards actively building something, using actual skills. Absolutely. Forget the rom-com ideal for a minute. This deep dive, we're looking at the stuff that's maybe less glamorous, but way more critical for making modern relationships really work. Not just survive, but, flourish.
And we're drawing on some solid research here.
Yeah, we've looked at a whole range. The journal study, obviously, the Gottman Institute's work, which is always so insightful, plus stuff from Forbes, Psychology Today.
American Psychological Association, Journal of Marriage and Family, Pew Research, too. It's
Yeah.
a broad picture.
It is. And the goal here for you listening is to kind of distill the essentials. What are those pillars beyond the sparks? Think of this as a shortcut, maybe, to understanding what builds real strength without drowning you in data.
A practical guide, almost.
Yeah. So let's start with maybe an unsung hero in all this, emotional intelligence, EQ.
Ah, yes. EQ. Not always the first thing people think of with romance, but it's foundational.
So what is it exactly in this context?
It's basically the ability to identify, understand, and manage emotions, both your own and, really importantly, your partner's emotions, too.
Okay, and how much does it actually matter?
A lot, according to the Gottman Institute. Their data, and they've studied thousands of couples, shows pairs with high EQ. They resolve conflict something like 40% faster.
40%? Wow.
And they report being happier, about 35% higher relationship satisfaction. It's significant.
That makes sense, though, doesn't it? If you can understand why you're feeling something or guess where your partner's coming from.
You react differently. Less knee-jerk anger, maybe more empathy.
Right. There was that example, Priya and Raj, the anniversary mix-up.
Oh yeah, great example. She forgot their plans, totally swamped with work. Now Raj could have just, blown up. Accusations, defensiveness.
Usual downward spiral.
Exactly. But instead, he tapped into that EQ. He said something like, okay, I felt kind of hurt when I realized, but honestly, I know how crazy things have been for you lately. Let's just figure out another time to celebrate.
See, that completely shifts it. It's not a fight anymore.
It's collaboration, understanding, problem solving together.
So for you listening, how do you actually, build that EQ? It sounds great, but how do you do it?
Well, it really starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Just noticing and naming your own feelings. Like, okay, hang on. Am I actually angry or am I feeling anxious or maybe disappointed? That simple step is huge.
Just pausing to label it.
Precisely. And there are tools too, like the emotional intelligence appraisal test, if you want a deeper dive into your own patterns. But fundamentally, it's about practice. And building that EQ together creates safety. A space where it's okay to be vulnerable.
Okay, so EQ handles the emotional weather day to day, but what about the bigger direction, the map for the journey?
Now you're talking shared values, the compass for the relationship.
Right, not just liking the same movies or whatever.
Exactly. Shared hobbies are nice, they're fun, but shared values, that's what guides you through the big stuff. Life decisions, challenges, the tough times.
And the research backs this up pretty strongly too, doesn't it? I think I saw a Forbes survey.
Yes. That 2023 survey was striking. It found 74%, nearly 3/4 of couples who felt aligned on core values called their relationships fulfilling.
74%, compared to what for hobby-based connections?
Only 41% for those who mainly connected over shared interests. It's a big gap. It really shows why those deeper beliefs matter so much for long-term happiness.
These puts things in perspective. You can both love hiking, sure, but if one person deeply values financial security and the other is, completely spontaneous with money.
That's going to cause friction down the line, big friction.
Like that cautionary tale about Leah, the vegan environmentalist.
Dating the hunting guide, yeah. Love the outdoors, sure, but their fundamental views on life, on ethics. totally opposed.
And she said something really powerful.
She did. Values aren't something you compromise on. And she's right. You can compromise on where to eat dinner, maybe, but not on your core principles. Not usually.
So how do you figure out what is a core value versus just like a preference? That values audit idea sounds useful.
It's very practical. Basically, sit down, maybe together, maybe separately at first, and list things out. What's truly fundamental to you? Honesty, family, ambition, religion, financial views.
And then compare that to preferences.
Yeah.
Like liking cilantro or not.
Exactly. And a good test is to ask,
Yeah.
will this specific thing genuinely matter to me or to us in 5 years? Your political alignment? Probably, yes. Your taste in music? Maybe less so?
It's that 5-year question. That's a really good filter. Okay, so we've got EQ for emotions, values for direction. But life isn't smooth. Conflict happens. Disagreements are inevitable, right?
No, absolutely. And the key thing isn't to avoid conflict that's often impossible, maybe even unhealthy. It's about how you navigate it.
Okay.
And here's something encouraging. The American Psychological Association found couples who argue constructively, they actually have lower divorce rates, about 35% lower.
Really? So arguing isn't automatically bad.
Not if you do it right. It can
Oh.
actually be a sign of engagement, of caring enough to hash things out. It's how you argue that counts.
I liked that example of Jen and Sam, the laundry wars. So relatable.
Isn't it? Chores are such a common battleground. And what they did was smart. They stopped the blame game and created a system, a chore chart, yeah, but also that gratitude jar.
Sure, folding socks gets you a thank you note.
Might sound small, maybe even a bit silly, but those little acknowledgments, they chip away at resentment. It becomes, how do we solve this? Not who's wrong.
Okay, so that's one approach. What about this fight clinic method? Sounds intense.
Maybe the name's a bit intense, but the principles are solid. 3 main parts. First, schedule your disagreements.
Schedule a fight. Seriously.
Yeah, it sounds weird. But it means you're not having explosive arguments when you're tired or stressed or walking in the door. You set aside time when you can actually focus.
Okay, I can see the logic there. What's next?
Using I statements.
Yeah.
Crucial. Instead of, you always ignore me when you're on your phone, which is just going to make someone defensive.
Yeah.
I feel unheard or disconnected when you're scrolling while we're talking.
Yeah.
See the difference? It's about your feeling, not an accusation.
Okay. Less blame, more feeling. And the third part.
The debrief. After the argument, once things have cooled down, actually talk about it. Okay, what did we learn? How could we handle that better next time?
Turning it into a learning opportunity. I like that. It feels constructive.
Exactly. It's about growth,
Thank
even
you.
from conflict.
Now, shifting gears slightly, this idea of keeping your individuality in a relationship, it feels like a balancing act.
It really is.
Fine.
And it's so important, that old idea of like losing yourself and your partner, becoming one entity. Sounds romantic, maybe, but it can actually be pretty unhealthy.
Unhealthy how?
It can lead to resentment, loss of self, codependency. There was a 2023 study, Journal of Marriage and Family, found that 61% of people in healthy, thriving relationships actively keep separate hobbies, friendships, goals.
61%. So having your own life isn't selfish. It's
Right.
healthy.
It's essential. Relying on one person for everything, social life, emotional support, entertainment, puts immense pressure on the relationship.
Like that story about Mia, the painter.
Yeah, exactly. She kind of sidelined her art because her partner's schedule was demanding or his interests were different, and she started feeling, well, resentful, unfulfilled.
And what happened when she reclaimed it? Her creative Sundays.
It wasn't just good for her art, it brought energy back into her life, which actually made the relationship better too. She was happier, more herself.
So it's not about pushing your partner away.
Not at all. It's about being a whole person within the relationship. And boundaries are key here.
Like actual me time. We're separate spaces.
Could be designating time for your own stuff, having a space that's yours, even if it's just a corner. It's not about building walls. It's about celebrating your own wholeness. You know, a good relationship shouldn't demand you erase parts of yourself.
Okay. That makes sense. But now, there's a modern twist on boundaries, isn't there? The digital kind. Our phones.
Ugh. Yes. The phone is the third wheel. It's a huge issue for couples now.
How huge? Is there data on that?
There is. Pew Research, again in 2023, found over half, 53% of couples argue weekly about screen time. Weekly.
Wow. That's a lot of arguments about phones.
It really is. It's constantly vying for our attention, even when we're trying to connect with our partner.
I remember that example, Tom and Alex. with the Instagram influencer thing.
Yeah, that almost break them up. The constant scrolling, the comparisons, maybe even who they were following.
So what did they do?
They had to set clear rules, like a specific follow rule, no exes, no secret crushes online, that kind of thing. And maybe more importantly, designated phone-free hours, time when the phones just get put away.
Right. It's not about control then. It's about presence.
Exactly. It's about choosing to be present with your partner over being pulled into the algorithm. There are even apps like OneSec that can help create friction, make you pause before mindlessly opening social media during quality time.
Good point. Like someone said, a relationship can't really compete with an algorithm if you let it.
So true. Which brings us to something that might sound, well, maybe a bit boring compared to sparks or drama, but it's like the glue. Consistency.
Ah, yes. Not the grand gestures, but the everyday stuff.
Precisely. It's easy to get caught up in the big moments, the anniversaries, the fancy dates.
Which are nice.
They are nice. But the real strength, the deep connection, often comes from the small, consistent, daily things.
Is there research on that too?
Yeah. University of California study found that small, consistent acts of kindness, just little things, were linked to 42% higher relationship satisfaction.
42%, just from small, regular stuff.
Things like making coffee, a quick appreciative text, asking about their day, and actually listening. It adds up.
Like Elena and Mark, the surgeons with the crazy schedule.
Yes, their 10-minute rule. Every night, no matter how exhausted, 10 minutes. No screens, no distractions, just connect. Non-negotiable.
That takes discipline, but I can see how powerful that would be.
It builds this bedrock of connection. And these little rituals, these micro rituals, they don't have to be complicated.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Could be a morning check-in. What's one thing you're looking forward to today? Or a weekly appreciation. Hey, thanks for handling the bills this month. I really appreciate it. Or even a monthly adventure. Try a new coffee shop, a different hiking trail, just something regular.
Small, consistent deposits in the relationship bank.
You got it. And that leads kind of naturally to the last big piece, growth.
Meaning the relationship itself needs to evolve.
Exactly. A relationship that just stays the same year after year, it can start to feel stagnant, like it's not going anywhere. That can lead to feeling trapped or suffocated even.
Whereas relationships where people feel like they're growing together
Tend to feel more alive, more connected over the long haul. There was a Psychology Today survey, 2023 again. 78% of couples who set shared goals felt closer over time.
Shared goals. Like what?
Could be anything. Saving for a house, planning a big trip, learning a new skill together.
Like Anna and Luis learning Italian for their Rome trip.
Perfect example. It wasn't just about the destination. As Luis said, planning the journey together kept us curious. It's that shared project, that sense of moving forward together.
So it's not about achieving perfection, but about making progress.
Absolutely. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
And one practical way to foster this is maybe having, say, quarterly check-ins.
Like a business meeting for your relationship.
Sort of, but less formal, hopefully. Just dedicated time to ask, hey, what's working well for us right now? What feels like it needs tweaking? How can we support each other's dreams, individual dreams, and shared ones this year?
Keeping things intentional, making sure you're both still heading in a direction that feels good.
Yeah, ensuring you're co-creating something that continues to feel fulfilling for both of you.
Okay. So, wow, when you pull it all together, it's clear that these amazing lasting relationships, they don't just happen by magic or luck.
No, they're definitely built intentionally, brick by brick.
And it takes courage sometimes, right? To have tough talks, to be vulnerable.
Courage, humility to apologize when you mess up,
Yeah.
and just that consistent daily effort, showing up even in small ways.
So chemistry might light the fire.
It gets things started. That initial spark is real.
But it's the other stuff, the EQ, the shared values, handling conflict well, keeping your sense of self, the boundaries, consistency, growing together. That's what keeps the fire burning.
Beautifully put. It's the intention, the empathy, the shared purpose. That's the fuel for the long haul.
Okay, so final thought for you listening. If your relationship were a garden, right? What's maybe one small thing you could address or change that you'd pull today to give love more space to really bloom?
Good question to sit with.